but I'm not dreaming anymore. All that I know is I'm falling.
Hi guys, my name is Nako Nakatsuka. I'm a fourth year chemistry PhD student at UCLA, and today I'll be helping you guys out by going over some general chemistry concepts. And good luck with the course. So now let's look at some common disaccharides, which is when you have two monosaccharides that are bonded together with a glycosidic bond. And so sucrose is produced only by plants, such as sugarcane, and it's the most common disaccharide in nature. And it's also very easily digested because it has an alpha linkage at the anomeric carbon. So this is why knowing whether you have an alpha or beta linkage is very important, because it also gives it certain properties, such as being able to be easily digestible. And so sucrose is a combination of glucose and fructose. Now let's talk about lactose, which is a combination of galactose and glucose. So lactose is present in milk, and it's readily digested but requires the enzyme lactase. So lactose actually has a beta linkage between the galactose and the glucose, and thus it requires an enzyme in order to break it, and thus it's not as easy as an alpha linkage to digest. So for people that have lactose intolerance, they can't drink milk or cheese without it upsetting their stomach, right? And that's because they're either lacking the enzyme lactase for severe cases, or they don't have enough of it. So now we have maltose here, which is the combination of two glucose molecules, and this is the product of partial hydrolysis of starch, which is a polysaccharide that we'll talk about in a little bit as well. And in this case, the anomeric carbon has alpha linkages, and thus it's very easily digestible. So finally, we talk about polysaccharides, where the hydrolysis of polysaccharides yield many monosaccharides, because it's the combination of many monosaccharides joined together by different bonds. And so the glucose polymers include starch, glycogen, and cellulose. So all of these are repeating units of glucose molecules that are joined by glycosidic bonds. And so let's look at starch, which is moderately branched. So starch is used for energy storage for green plants. And they have two forms. They have amylose and amylopectin. Their main function is energy storage, and they're easily digested by mammals. Now, glycogen is multi-branched, or it's highly branched, and again, it's a polysaccharide of glucose, and it's used for energy storage as well in mammals and fungi. And finally, cellulose right here. Now we have unbranched linear polysaccharides. And so this is the most abundant organic substance in nature, and its main function is structural. So cellulose is often found in wood, which is approximately 50% cellulose by weight, and the strength is due to intermolecular hydrogen bonding that's occurring between these branches. And the reason why polysaccharides such as cellulose are very important for plants is because they are not easily digestible by mammals. And so let's look at the difference between starch, glycogen, and cellulose. These two are branched, and cellulose is not. Cellulose is not very easily digestible, which provides protection from animals for plants, and starch and glycogen are easily digestible and store energy. So when something is branched, it's easier for something to come in here and cleave one glucose and use it for energy. I can also cleave this guy right here and use it for energy. So the more branched something is, the easier it is to cleave off a glucose molecule and use it for energy. On the other hand, when you have these unbranched structures, it's harder for cleaving to occur. And thus, cellulose provides structural support for many plants. And this concludes our chapter on carbohydrates, and now we're going to move to the second big family that we have to talk about, which is lipids.
all